Hi, I'm Bryan, editor of AV News, and this afternoon, great pleasure in welcoming back after a year's absence, I think.
Yes.
Gordon Dutch, but in a new capacity. Yeah, most people know Gordon from his days at Peerless, and I think you're still involved with Peerless, but not in a kind of day-to-day role. Is that fair?
That's correct, Bryan. Yes. Yeah.
So instead, Gordon has launched a new business using a familiar name, which is BBG, but this time is BBG Business Consultants. And your business card says Gordon Dutch Partner.
Yes.
Interesting. So who's the other partners?
My wife.
Good move.
Yes. So we obviously, before I sold, the original business was called BBG Distribution Limited.
Wow.
That was in business for 20 years nearly, and we were a distributor for numerous brands, from car audio back in the day to home audio, and then Pro AV products. So in May 2009, obviously sold the business to Peerless and joined the main Peerless global board. And my responsibility was to take the UK, which at the time BBG was just a UK business, and really, be successful with Peerless in the UK, and then build the EMEA business from there, which is, just over 10 years since we started that project, and hopefully you will have seen we've come, I think, a very long way in a short period of time.
But you didn't feel, when you had the opportunity, I know you've got other interests, so that wasn't the opportunity to kick back for a while, and you wanted a new challenge, I think.
That's correct, yes. So there were a lot of reasons for me deciding to step back at Peerless. It felt that the timing was right. A lot of my team with the original BBG had been with me 25 years. We have a fabulous team. As you're aware, they've won a number of awards, including your award yesterday for Charlene, which she was thrilled with. So it's lovely to see them recognised. My role really in the business was to make sure that we guided the business through the pitfalls of developing an EMEA. Obviously, Europe is, not the easiest place, especially over the last 2 or 3 years with Brexit. And, there's lots of different languages and cultures. So my role really for the Peerless board was to talk about how we could develop that business and where we would be best investing and how to grow. So we've come, I think, a very long way in a fairly short period of time, and it felt like the right time to step away. So I was lucky enough to have some great support from the other owners of Peerless. As you've seen in the press release, John Potts, our president, and Nick Belcor, our exec VP, have been good enough to say what a great job that we did as a team. And they were nice enough to let me keep the BBG name, which obviously was the original name. So it's nice to be back. And I've been doing various consultancy jobs for lots of different businesses inside and outside the industry.
So how would you describe the range of services that you could offer? Obviously advice is important, and experience, contacts is another one, obviously, but are there specific things that you're doing for your clients as time develops?
Yeah, so as I said, it's been quite varied. Actually, I've done some stuff outside the industry that has been more general business consultancy advice, mentoring people that are owner-operators from 10 to 50 staff that want to grow the business, talking about how they have the infrastructure and HR and finance, obviously. But those are businesses outside the industry. The ones inside the industry, generally the advice has been on how to approach Europe, which markets you approach in a different way. Some of the markets have a more direct model. Distribution is more difficult in certain territories. Other models are very strong in distribution, and understanding, what you need to do to put in the support package that you need for all these different languages and all these different cultures. So it's been very enjoyable. But having done that for the last year and a half, I really feel it's time for me to sort of look at hopefully a bigger new challenge. So
you've kind of formalised that activity with a view to growing it, obviously. I should imagine that your life wouldn't have been made any easier by Brexit if you're looking at building people's businesses in Europe. But there are some tremendous opportunities. I was hearing yesterday the situation with massive investment in ICT by the German government, the fact that if you look at France as a country, only 20% of French schools have flat panels.
Yeah.
There are massive opportunities there.
No, absolutely. So I'm a great believer that, for every negative, there's a positive. So, for example, a lot was talked about, obviously, about the amount of companies that might pull out of the UK, for example, and headquarter somewhere else. But in fact, of course, there's also companies who are saying, well, now we need to have a business in the UK as well. So it's horses for courses. I think that the opportunity is there. Obviously the next year will be quite turbulent. I'm sure that the negotiations will follow a similar pattern, that nothing's going to, there's going to be a lot of chest puffing and talking, and then really, something needs to be done probably at the last moment, which is a shame. It would be nice if they could all sit in a room like nice boys and girls and talk about it from a business point of view, but I'm sure that they've all got to lever their position. But I think that once December comes, we'll know exactly where we are. And as I said, that brings a lot of opportunity in UK, France, Germany, and all across Europe, for sure.
Mm-hmm. We just had an interesting discussion. I'm fresh out of a webinar on collaborative solutions, and one of the issues that came up was the environment, sustainability, and the issue turned on, would the AV industry be better selling less but with more longevity? And then that's an interesting one, because that's not the way that we think really in AVs, is the whole better, faster, whatever. That's what it's always been about.
Yeah.
Do you see any change in that direction?
For sure. And one of the things that when I was with Peerless, we certainly looked at recycling, and that was the great thing. At the end of the day, a lot of the product was obviously metal. We only really used cardboards and special plastics, so you pretty much recycle all the product. I do see that as being more and more important in the industry. The only issue previously has been, of course, that technology has moved so quickly that people are always a little bit worried about not being future-proofed. So I think that's one of the reasons why people have probably taken new technology after a few years. But I do think that there is going to be a trend. We've seen a trend obviously where narrow pitch LED, for example, is starting to certainly come into a more affordable remit. There's now a closer correlation between a video wall and a narrow pitch LED. The quality's there, so it's definitely going to be some very interesting changes. And of course, the longevity of narrow pitch LED generally is thought to be far longer than necessarily video wall. So I think that that's certainly something that could come into play over the next few years.
Well, we had a bit of a debate between hardware manufacturers and a sole representative from the software industry, and the hardware guys slightly ganged up and said, actually, it's all your fault, because if you didn't keep adding more features to your software, more requirements for power, we wouldn't have to keep uprating our hardware, and therefore things would last longer anyway. I mean, I'm not so sure. What about you?
It's a tough one. I think it's in many ways at the high end. It's the law of diminishing return. When you look at 8K, there's limited content, but the quality is fantastic. However, on a large screen, how much will you want to pay to move up to 8K when 4K is already such fantastic resolution? So I think those arguments will continue to play out. But I think that it's everybody has a responsibility to look at their own business, from the way they transport products, the way they package products, and how they're going to end use. And if we do that together, then hopefully we can certainly help the environment. As a parent myself, and most of us are in the industry, you do worry obviously about the state of the situation when you're moving to a slightly more mature years, and our youth are coming through. It's very important that we look at the planet, for sure.
Yeah. So to sum up, if people are feeling need of help in trying to achieve some objective, they maybe just want to develop an export business, they maybe want to look at new markets, you can help them. They should call you. I mean, one of the issues that I find as is demands on time. Your time disappears instantly, and you might want to do a certain job, but then A, have you got time to do it, and B, will people pay for that time, which is the other issue.
Yeah, so I think that the ideal thing for me would be to find another large American brand, maybe in audio, which was originally my background, that is very strong domestically in the US, that would like to come into Europe, or maybe is already in Europe but not necessarily invested in her headquarters here, and really wants to take it to the next level. And that's really where I feel that my experience, not just through what I've done obviously with Peerless, but in the other brands that we've imported, many of them American brands. It really helps them save money from the point of view that there are so many pitfalls that you can fall into from just your CE approval, your power supplies, making sure that they're the right switchable power supply. There's so many basic things that you can save time on, but also thinking globally about the channel, how you're going to go to market, and really what your proposition is. And if you plan right, then I believe you can get it right. And obviously there will always be things that will come out. There's always disruptive influences which can change what you're planning. But if you're a strong company, you've got the ability to look at what those disruptors might be. Sometimes they're price, often they are obviously, sometimes they're new competitor. But whatever they are, you've then got the opportunity to make sure that the business is flexible enough and strong enough to overcome those disruptive influences. So that's really my forte, I believe, is bringing nearly 30 years experience running my own business, distributing a number of brands and building those up, but also obviously being part of the Peerless team and developing such a strong global business. It'd be lovely to do that again, with another new business.
And that capability is available right now, so you can start.
Yeah, I'm doing some work, and I'm really happy with the projects that I've done. So a lot of those projects now were over a period of a few months, and it just so happens that corresponds with me stepping away full-time from Peerless. So my day-to-day work now is finished with Peerless. I will stay on the board as an advisor and a non-exec, but actually it leaves me a lot of free time. And I did realise that I'm not very good at golf, and actually I don't really enjoy it that much. So I need to get something, moving forward. After 30 years of running your own business and constantly being on the go, it's not good for me to get bored, as my wife will contest.
Well, I wish you every success with the new venture. I'm sure you've got so much energy in the way you apply yourself. I'm sure it'll be successful. So thanks very much indeed, Gordon.
Thank you very much, Bryan. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.